I don't know what's going on with you, you fullbacks in particular, but like we know Juice listens to the show, too, and I'm always like, hey, got any insider information for me, Juice?
And the first thing you asked me.
But I mean, like, I'm really tactical about it, you know,
Sure.
like I'm sort of asking, but I'm not asking, and then he laughs. He's like, when I'm listening to you guys, there's so many times where I want to reach out and be like, you guys are so wrong on this. You don't know. It's like, but I can't do it. I'm like, yeah, man. I totally understand. You can't. You got your job. You got to look out for yourself. But also, you should have told me that McCaffrey was going to be hurt. Juice, I don't appreciate that.
Welcome back to Athletics Check, everyone. This has been a bit of a hiatus, but I am so excited to bring this back. I'm Johnny Stanton, co-host of the show with my other co-host, Travis Reeves. Say hi, Travis.
Hi.
Yeah, Athletics Check is back after a little bit of a hiatus where I had to run a Kickstarter, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to run podcasts. Travis moved and had a whole lot of life changes happen for you.
Yeah.
But we're back. Better than ever, ready to go athletics checking.
I have a window now. That helps.
You have a window now. You don't live in a garage anymore, which is amazing.
In a garage. It's not all glam in the podcast space.
Contrary to what people might think, we have an awesome guest to bring us back into the swing of things with Mike Wright of the Fantasy Football Podcast. I learned about this podcast about a year ago, maybe a little bit over a year ago. I started listening to them in the middle of the 2023 season to try my best to get back in the ranks with Travis's fantasy league, because despite what you might think, football players aren't naturally good at fantasy football. I have had my butt kicked for a number of years now in Travis's fantasy league. I forget if we've talked about this on the podcast or not.
We did on one of the last intros, but this is interesting that we bring this up with Mike Wright, because I also, I'm not say former. They didn't do anything. You only have so many podcasts.
They know what they did.
They know what they did. The 2015 through 17 season, I was a regular listener of the pod. So to kind of have this, let's say full circle, maybe full oval moment, hasn't been that long, of like, oh, hey, it's the guy from the thing. I wasn't here for this interview, and I'm bummed about that, even though it's completely my
great.
fault. Yes.
Those guys have a really amazing chemistry. Andy, Jason, and Mike we get into their story about how they started the podcast, and that was just so impressive, because I think every podcast origin story is like, are we still doing this, until it actually becomes a thing, the one of the 1%.
They were early on the Patreon. Like, they were in the front line of podcasts, making a legitimacy play from on Patreon, which is to say per user donation based. I remember paying them. I subscribed specifically to ask them a lineup question, because I was going to the playoffs, and I didn't know that I composed a paragraph and change that was like, I don't want to come off like an idiot on this show, whatever. So I formatted it and stuff, and I didn't realize that at the time, at least, Patreon ran on some crazy HTML submission form, so it just came up as this insane string of dialogue with weird line, completely unproofed edit. And Mike was the one who answered, I believe, and was just
struggling through it.
Do this, I guess. It was one of those things where he gave me an answer, but there was an air of are you good?
Well, I was able to connect with Mike over Twitter while I was with the Browns, because I think it was, he is of that group, the nerdy of the bunch, and that's why I was very happy to be able to get him on the show. And we connected over his, at the very least, liking of Dungeons and Dragons. So we got into that on the show, but I ended up reaching out to him, asking some kind of fantasy football question. I will say the one thing I got very frustrated by, because I get to send him a DM every once in a while. I do not like to bug him about it, but sure. I have a very great asset, a very advisor in my back pocket. I will say though, earlier in the season, I asked him, hey, who would you rather keep as a stash, Kansas City Chiefs running back, Kareem Hunt or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? And he said Clyde. And I think that really put a damper on my season because I had both at one point and I kept Clyde. So anyway, that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to half of our listeners because I think we try to split it right down the middle.
Well, just so the listeners know, I wish this was some like protracted grand scheme of mine to make sure Johnny doesn't have success in the fantasy football league that I run. It's not. It's just hard to predict fantasy football as much as it's like a
It's
cottage
true. I mean,
industry.
who's in the last place in our league right now?
Is it me?
You're in at least second to last place.
I'm not doing well.
You're not doing well.
Overall, and specifically there. Okay, for everybody who wants these juicy details, Johnny is currently you're well in the place. We have like a kind league where the top 7 make it in. You're the 5 seed.
I am the 5 seed. It is a tough league though, because there's a lot of roster spots on every team, and I did not get a good running back this year. I was holding on to my boy Nick Chubb, and for hoping that the second half of the season would be good to me. It's been better than the first half, so I'm at least working my way up.
2 touchdowns in that snow game. That was wild.
It's true. People don't want to be listening to this. People want to hear the interview with Mike Wright on the Athletics Check podcast for the first time in months. Thank you to everybody who is a Patreon subscriber. Thank you to everybody who will listen at the very end to listen to our Dungeons and Dragons little mini adventure where I get to run Mike through not his first D&D game, but definitely a different one, I think, than he's ever experienced. This conversation was super fun. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and roll me an Athletics Check. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Athletics Check podcast, where I have a guest that I am truly a big fan of. Starting, I think, kind of around mid-season last year is when I started becoming one of the fantasy footballer fans myself. We have Mike Wright, the hitman, Mike Wright, on the show right now. How you doing, Mike?
What's going on, everybody? Let's nerd out. I don't know. Is that what guests say on this show?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is an opportunity to, as you were just talking before we started recording, getting to do shows that isn't like 100% about sports. You get excited by.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done. Let's see, off the top. I mean, I did a Batman podcast, and we just broke down the entire Dark Knight. I did a video game podcast where like the guy brought this Monkey Island trivia to me because Monkey Island's like that's one of my all-time favorite games, and so he had all this trivia prepared. I don't know. So when I get to talk about that kind of stuff, it's just a fun change of pace.
It's always fun for me to get like obviously whatever you're involved with in your day-to-day life in terms of like what people are most known for oftentimes is a huge passion for them, but people are multifaceted and have many dimensions to them, and oftentimes what they're most passionate about might not be what they're known for. And I was discovering that there's so much crossover between the world of sports and the world of like fantasy nerddom. When I came out to like the Browns fans as like I'm a big D&D nerd. When I got signed in 2020, there were a ton of people responding to me, said like, "Oh my God, we have a nerd on the team. That's amazing." It's like it was fun for people to like relate to that. But you kind of live in that aspect of the nerds and the sports fans, and not even if you like a lot of the people who follow you probably don't even consider themselves nerds because they're just big. They're just big football fans.
Yeah, they don't realize we are some of the biggest nerds of all. They're just it's cloaked in the sporting world. So like, oh well, this is I'm doing real macho man stuff. Like, no, man, we're playing fantasy football. We're playing a game based on a game that you have control of certain things, but once the ball kicks off and everyone's locked, like you have no control over what is about to happen. But you pretend like it, and then when things go
you
your way,
live and die by it.
Oh yes. The mood at the Fantasy Footballers headquarters on Mondays and Tuesdays is very reflective. You know who won. On Monday morning, if somebody won. If somebody needs a Monday Night Miracle. The fun part about fantasy football is you get to root for players who are playing against you, and you're like, I need them to do just good enough for me to win, but then the Cardinals still win. How does that work out? It's a weird place to live.
Honestly, the hardest thing for me in being a fantasy football player, especially coming from the league, it was honestly last year, and we'll kind of get into the stuff about actual athletics check, but leaving the league during the 2022 season, trying to get back on a team, spending last year trying to I actually switch from fullback to long snapper was kind of my mission all of 2023.
Okay.
It didn't end up working out in the way that I was hoping for it to, but when you're in the league and you find yourself cut, there's a lot of bitterness. Anybody would be lying to say that there isn't. And trying to get over that is something that I was very intentional in trying to do when leaving the league, or when trying to become a football fan again, and not be like
right,
not being able to watch the games and not being able to pay attention to the news. So honestly, listening to fantasy footballers and getting back involved with fantasy football itself was a huge huge boon to me in trying to fall in love with the game itself again, as opposed to just being my job and playing it.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I don't know what's going on with you you fullbacks in particular, but like we know Juice listens to the show too, and I'm always like, hey, got you got any insider information for me, Juice?
And the first thing you asked me.
no, but I mean, like, I'm really tactical about it, like I'm sort of asking, but I'm not asking. And then he laughs. He's like, when I'm listening to you guys, there's so many times where I want to reach out and be like, you guys are so wrong on this. You don't know. It's like, but I can't do it. I'm like, yeah, man. I totally understand. You can't. You got your job. You got to look out for yourself. But also,
absolutely,
you should have told me that McCaffrey was going to be hurt. Juice, I don't appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's get into the actual athletics check portion of it. I'm curious, do you know what an athletics check is, especially when it relates to Dungeons and Dragons?
I do. Okay. Yes, I'm aware of not checks and balances, but yeah, I mean, I got
Saves
into
and attack rolls.
Yeah. I'm newer, just overall in like I didn't grow up playing the game of D&D. I jumped in right around COVID. I think at the beginning of COVID, when everything was starting to shut down. And it was, I think a lot of us all just kind of took a step back, did some inventory of life of like, I'm trapped here. What is something that I should do? Like, I want to do it. I've just never done it. And it was, to me, I'm like, among other things, of course, but it's like, when this is done, I'm playing D&D. Like, we're going to get a group together. And I think I tweeted about it. And then I ended up with a group. Like,
amazing.
So like my buddy Lanny, our main DM, he works for NetherRealm, and I met him because of fantasy football, and we became online buddies. And he was just like, he's like, oh yeah, I play. I've never DM'd. He's like, but it's something I could do. I'm like, oh, okay. One of my best friends growing up, he has played. And then we reached out so I brought my buddy in, and then then the other two were this guy, Brian, who's known as the biggest loser on my show. Like, he wanted to play, and I don't think he had ever played, but his buddy had played, something like that. Anyways, so we formed a group. I thought I was going to wait until COVID was over, but it was actually, no, when COVID is starting, this is when I'm going to get into D&D.
It was a catalyst for a lot of people getting involved in fantasy role playing and tabletop games in general. It was massive for the growth of the game, especially the online version of it. And the online version, and I don't know if that's what you started with or if you're starting with an in-person group, but it is as great of an experience of playing and role playing online is. It's such a better analog experience in person around a table, having snacks, rolling physical dice. I just was talking about this last night at a panel at a convention that I was at, and just how the technology, growing the experience of role playing and, decreasing the borders of being able to play with your friends across the country is incredible. But when you can, being able to sit down around a table to do it. And have you had that experience yet?
We did. So this group, we play on Roll20. So like almost everything is virtual, but we did plan one nerd trip of everyone came down to Arizona for the movie for the D&D movie.
Cool. Yeah.
And so we planned the trip around that. We're like, hey, let's do that, and then we're gonna have a couple campaigns. I can't remember the name of it. Just came out. Where it's the series of like heist campus.
Candlekeep Mysteries or
no, that's not it.
Golden Tales of the Golden Key or something like that.
Yeah, that one. So
yeah.
we did 2 sessions of that in person, and that was that was so much fun to actually get to roll the dice and then just clicking and watching them bounce around it.
And you don't need a high production value experience. You don't need the battle maps, the minis.
Right.
Just having to be able to role play and goof around with your friends face to face as opposed to face to screen it's a completely different experience. So I'm really glad that you're able to experience that, and I hope that campaign is still going. I wanted to ask one of the things that I strive for within like trying to balance my world of like jock, like, you know, kind of the phrase that people haven't really co-opted as much as nerds have for in jocks versus nerds is kind of like more accepted now, whereas a jock is still kind of a little bit derogatory. But in terms of like your own personality, your own time, your own self-identity, how would you balance your ratio of jock to nerd or sports fan to geek? I try to be as close to 50-50 as possible, but I'm curious on how you would, to start the interview, how would you identify?
Sure. I would say my slider is definitely more on the nerd side of like I wasn't the last kid picked in gym, but I was definitely not the first kid who would be put on the teams. I'm a good role player.
Sure.
And it really, actually, growing up, I wasn't a huge just sports guy, period. You know, I grew up, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. So our city's relationship with sports it's tough, man.
It's new, like relatively new.
Yeah, it's not only is it relatively new, but we are a city completely built on people moving here. Like when you meet people like me who are like, oh, I'm born and raised here, it's far, you're like, oh, well, look at this, a Phoenician. Like it doesn't really happen. And we got our football team in the 80s. They were embarrassingly bad for decades. Now the Phoenix Suns they were good.
Yeah.
Like they had a good run in the 70s, and then we had the Barkley years. But I just wasn't really into sports as I moved through high school. And I don't remember. I think the switch actually was a buddy got me into playing sports like Madden. You know, like I played some Madden as a kid, but we got into it back when NCAA is back now.
Yeah.
But this was back when I think it's like Darren Sproles is on Kansas or something like that.
Okay.
And so that's when I was playing. And then I got really into sports. And then I got really into baseball. I got really into the Minnesota Twins. And then I started playing more fantasy sports. Started with basketball. And then eventually, because the Steve Nash era of the Suns,
I was a massive Phoenix Suns fan when Nash was the point guard.
I did not miss a single game back during that era. It was like appointment watching of like my wife was my girlfriend at the time for some, and I'm like, I gotta go. Like I'm sorry that the Phoenix Suns are about to start. I got to get back to my house. And then it got into football. So and now my job is sports, so it's kind of weird. But I'm being a nerd in sports, so I'll put. It's a long-winded way of saying I'll put my slider really at probably 70-30.
Sure.
70 on the nerd side.
That feels about right. Yeah. I mean, it is, you know, it's not binary. It's obviously like you are the prime example of somebody whose, you know, job in sports is to be a nerd. So, you know, you ride that line really, really well. For those of you who aren't as familiar of our listeners who aren't as familiar of fantasy footballers, I did want to touch on that a little bit. Like, how did you guys get started? You guys have been doing this for a lot longer than most other fantasy football podcasts, and you're absolutely one of the biggest ones. And I only personally learned about you guys, I think last year, maybe the year before that. I know that you responded to, I was just looking at our messages, you responded to the Sports Center Dungeons and Dragons video that I made with, that ended up getting made for my D&D group with Miles and Wyatt when I was with the Cleveland Browns. But I was curious, what was your creating the podcast story?
Sure. So we're in the middle of year 10 here with the footballers, and the way it started was I graduated with a degree in game design, and it was immediately after school. Okay, I got to find a job, and I had said, okay, I'm going into audio. I grew up a musician, just learning all sorts of instruments. Thought my life was like, I am destined to be a rock star. Well, it turns out being a rock star is there's a lot of luck, and it's pretty hard to become one of those. And so, anyways, my other passion was video games. So I meet Jason. He is speaking at a just a little what was it, IGDA or something like that group, talking about his business and how they've been successful doing Facebook games and things like that. I'm like, hey, I do audio, and we keep talking, and then eventually they had a spot where they were working on this pretty big game for Facebook that needed a lot of music and sound effects, and so I got picked up. So Jason was my boss. Andy was kind of like essentially my manager, so to speak. It wasn't like an official role, but he was much higher up than I was. But the sensation of the office was fantasy football. They had a league that had already been going for a long time. They eventually expanded from 10 to 12 teams. They brought me in, another guy from the office. People start becoming co-managers inside the office. Like, it really was all we talked about was fantasy football, and winning this league was the highest prestige. No money, just
was
winning.
This the beginning of the league of record?
Yeah, it was the beginning for me when I got in, and we kept upping it of like, let's make this even more ridiculous. We would do live drafts. Then it was live drafts. Everyone's making banners and T-shirts, and then it was, hey, what if we get our buddy to wear a suit and he reads all of our picks? And so we're always trying to make it more fun. And eventually Andy and I say, let's just once a week on lunch, let's record a podcast just for the league. We'll talk about, who did something really like a great move, who did something stupid, what was the best trade of the week. And the timing of it was pretty funny because Andy and I had just a stranglehold on the league of we went to the championship 3 times in a row, me versus him. I won twice. But it turned into just the crap talk hour of the two of us saying how great we are at fantasy football and the reason why everyone else in the league stinks. So just really, really fun. And then we thought, well, what if we do a real one? You know, we are so invested in this. What if we do a real one? And so we kind of are working on that a little bit. Anyways, fast forward, and Facebook is changing how games are done. If you remember the Farmville days of Facebook, that like it went away, so the business went under. We're all trying to figure out what are we going to do, and they're working on Jason and Andy are working on becoming realtors. I'm over here like doing some music stuff. I'm working on like trying to start a beard oil company, and we thought, well, let's just try and do a podcast while we're doing the other real stuff. That it might be fun. And we started it right after the Super Bowl, which for most people out there, like that's the worst possible time to start a fantasy football podcast, but you would be wrong because there are psychotics out there who want to talk about it all the time. Anyways, from that point on through the summer and when training camp hit, all of a sudden a bunch of listeners start flooding in.
What year was this?
This would have been, 14 or 15. No, 10 seasons ago.
Right, sure.
So whatever that works out to being.
But in actuality, you guys were doing the podcast before that.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean,
sure.
No one knew what it was. It was just me and Andy. But anyways, we saw enough listenership that we thought we can go for it, or we can make this work, but we got to go for it, which means once August hits, we try to compete with the big boys. We go 5 days a week, just like ESPN, just like CBS. And somehow we all managed to keep the mortgage paid and the lights on, and then some money started to come in through the podcast, and now we're here. So Amazing. It's been wild. It's been an absolute wild ride.
That's amazing. It's so fun to see and to listen to the chemistry that you guys have on the show. And I'm sure like over the course of 10 years, that chemistry just builds and builds and builds. And you guys have one of the hardest parts about joining the podcast last year or the year before or whatever it was trying to catch up with all of the inside jokes that you guys have.
I get that.
And I think you guys had an episode where you guys just explain, or like you answered listener questions of just explaining inside jokes at one point, which was very helpful for me.
That's good to know. I'll make sure the production team puts that on the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned music, and you do all of the musical cues for the show.
I do.
That right?
Yeah, that's correct.
What is your instrument of choice? I assume guitar is a large part of it.
Yeah. My favorite instrument is still bass. That was because I have a pretty strong contrarian streak about me, and we hit junior high, and that's when everyone I know, they're like, okay, I'm picking up a guitar. And I had already, like, my mom is a piano player, so I was in piano lessons when I was very young. Eventually, just complained my way out of that, which you're like, oh, that's a mistake, I should have kept doing that. Played a little bit of trumpet in school band, and then got to junior high. I was like, no, I gotta play a cool instrument, but everyone's playing guitar. Like, well, then I'm gonna play bass.
Makes you valuable for making a band together.
It does. You can get into any band you want in junior high if you play the bass. But eventually, a year or so after playing, like, started picking up guitar because I wanted to write songs, and so my main instruments are guitar and bass. But I mean, all music production is just whatever you need. I can probably figure out how to get something for you.
I was hoping to have my co-host of the podcast. I do all the interviews, but my buddy Travis Reeves does the intros with me, and he's an incredible musician. Taught me how to play a little bit of guitar that really I only used to propose to my wife back in 2022.
Very smooth,
which was great. But Travis produces music for podcasts, including created the theme song for this one. So I'll give him a shout out for that. But I know that he was very curious because he was a listener for a while as well, and wanted to ask, like, Mike's the guy who does all the music and stuff, so he wanted to find out more. I personally am a Luddite when it comes to actual music production, and I'm do not have the knowledge to ask you any kind of actual intriguing questions. But if you want to comment on it, please feel free to take over.
People ask, like, what is my setup and like my rigs and all this stuff, and I hate to bring you bad news, but I'm a lazy musician, man. Everything I do is just inside of the box. I use Logic for my recording software, and I use all the Logic plugins. I just go direct from my guitar into an audio interface, and then turn a bunch of plugins on and mess around with it till it sounds good.
Sure. Among the three of you, between you, Andy, and Jason, it seems to me as the listener that you are the nerd of the group.
Yes, I would be.
In terms of like the stereotypical geek culture kind of nerd.
Yeah, all three of us definitely have it.
Sure.
Like where, I mean, Jason's a crazy Harry Potter nerd. Andy along with me played. We didn't play together, but we both played like years of World of Warcraft. I mean,
cool.
I lost years of my life to that game. So we all have it, but I'm probably just the loudest about it. Also, my memory is way better than theirs, so I remember all these things.
Yeah, because there are multiple times where I've heard Jason and Andy give you shit for just being a nerd, but like in actuality, you guys are all nerds.
Yes,
it's just
we all
depending on what you're nerd about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned WoW. You mentioned Harry Potter. What are the things that the other guys in the studio are nerdy about?
I mean, video games.
Have you introduced them to Dungeons and Dragons at all?
I have. So Andy's wife is a big time player. Like she's
Amazing.
playing multiple times a week.
Wow.
Yeah. Like he's like, oh. Well, I'm on dad duty tonight because my wife she's the DM and has to be over here. So he and the connection of Andy's wife, her brother is Josh, who works for the Fantasy Footballers. He's one of our producers, and Josh knows all the D&D world as well. I don't think Andy has ever played. Jason, lovingly was giving me crap when I'm like, dude, I'm in D&D now. And he's like, oh, you nerd. And I've just, over time explained that what the game actually is, and he's like, well, that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
So he just needs someone to give him the shove. But I think he is very ready to, if he had the time, very ready to jump in and do a campaign.
One of my dreams is absolutely running a game for the three of you guys. So if we can make that happen, we have to, because you look at we talked a little bit before the podcast about how Clint McElroy, the patriarch of the McElroy family, my brother, me, Adventure Zone, was on the podcast as episode 2, and they made the massive switch from just comedy podcasting to the Adventure Zone, which was a massive success for them. I know the guys over at Pardon My Take had a long history of doing some D&D episodes during their episodes. So at some point maybe we can get you guys to play in a game together.
Yeah, absolutely. Or I mean, when we got my group, we go by the Dragoneers.
Amazing.
We had talked about it in the beginning of like recording it.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's a couple really successful podcasts out there they're D&D and it's fun, and then just as we started playing, number one, I'm like, I have another job and I have a very forward facing personality. The way that I talk while we're playing this game, this is this is not going to go out there into the world.
That's fair.
And also just it would be nice to it's always nice to turn a hobby into something that can help give you some money.
It's also not a nice thing to do
so,
sometimes.
And then we just got to the point of it's just us hanging out with the buds,
right.
and we play the game and not have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm by no means solving the problem by creating my own podcast itself, but the podcast market is absolutely saturated with D&D shows, and incredible storytellers don't get the attention that they deserve, and not every game needs to be recorded in that way. Like you mentioned, sometimes it's better for just to have the experience on your own, which I'm a huge fan of being able to do. And then personally playing for an audience for like a stream or something that I'm invited to or run, completely different experience than running a game or playing a game that is just at home or with friends.
Do you feel like you have to be on and be entertaining?
No, definitely. There is a bit of what I think plays well as opposed to what I think I would want to do.
Gotcha.
And that is definitely a skill that you have to learn over the course of playing in a stream, because it's not something that came naturally to me. I remember very early on, even if it was just like 7 people watching on a Twitch stream or something, it's still, you're very hyper aware of how you're looking and like what's going on, and maybe not quite as into the role play aspects of it. So it's very hard.
I get that. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Hero Forge Custom Miniatures. Hero Forge is a free-to-use online character design application. That basically means if you want to play a TTRPG and you want to have a 3D printed miniature of your character, Hero Forge is the place to go. You can print them at home, you can print them there, and they will ship them to you. They are always incredibly crafted and designed, and the print process is so exact. It's really impressive. Every time I get to see one of these miniatures, their character design and customization is second to none. You get to 3D model your mini right there on screen. You can see it as it real time. Updates to any kind of customization you want. Their facial customization is super impressive. Make sure that you go to heroforge.com to design your custom miniature today, and always check back regularly because they always come back with the coolest updates. They have new content every week, whether it's a new piece of clothing, a new race, whatever you can imagine, you can make it on heroforge.com. So go to heroforge.com today to start designing your own custom miniature. Kickstarter. With your help, we were able to raise over $280,000, and after that, over $20,000 on BackerKit. We were able to surpass $300,000. It is not too late to pre-order Sync Adventures on the Call to Reach Sea, the 5e book for pirates and tattoos that I helped create. My co-writer Rick Eskevius and our artist Sam Rusk, all three of us worked so hard on this book. We're continuing to work on it, and it is not too late to pre-order it. If you go to the BackerKit for Sync, you just search on BackerKit kit for Sink Adventures on the Call to Reach Sea. That's SINK ! You will be able to find it and pre-order your book, as well as all of the add-ons. You don't get the tiers we had in Kickstarter, but we have everything that you can pick and choose, like a tiki mug, a bunch of minis that we can send you. It's the coolest stuff in the world, and I'm so proud of it. We are continuing to work on it. It'll be a minute till it comes out, but I want everybody to get the opportunity to get Sink Adventures on the Call to Reach Sea, the physical book, when it comes out. So thank you guys for helping out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. You're also a big sneakerhead, from what I can tell on social media.
I am, yes.
Yeah.
I collect Nike SBs. I had to make a very distinct choice of I can't open this thing up to other shoes. I like a bunch of different ones, but it's like I do have a couple pairs of just regular Nikes and a pair of Jordans, but it's like I can't. My bank account cannot handle if I open this thing up. But yeah, I have a lot. I mean, I've got over 100 pairs of SBs at this point.
I for a long time was very much into sneakers, especially Jordan 1s. Just trying for a long time to get the original colorways, trying to get in on any of the new releases. And I would, dabble into the 4s, the 5s, the 3s, the 11s. And last year is when I made the very intentional decision to start downsizing my collection, because it got to the point where I had I think about 50 pairs of different Jordans and Adidas and Yeezys and whatever. So now I'm trying to go through the process of downsizing to just the ones that I actually want. It's so hard because the sneaker bubble has unceremoniously popped in the last couple of years. Prices are still high, but people aren't buying them like they used to.
Yeah, because things got, over. I mean, it's been I got really, really back in. I think right around COVID too, and I mean, I had already kind of had a decent collection of them, because there was, which back when that was happening, this sounds old, but it's back in my day, but I could just go to the skate shop and get them. I would just call up and be like, hey, do you have these? You got these in stock? You got an 11? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm on my way. I'm not telling you to hold it forever. I'm literally on my way, and I'll come grab them. And it's I got pairs of that, that I've worn out, and people like, oh my God, how much did you pay for those? I'm like, I bought these at the store, bro. I got these at stock price. And they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, it was
the best feeling when an actual sneakerhead comes up to you in the wild and talks about your shoe, and there's nothing better than when you actually do get it at retail price.
Yeah, and so a good amount of them I used, and then that life is gone, man. That world is gone.
It's
now
impossible
even
to get them
the skate shop I go to, it's always when a quick strike comes out or something, it's always join the raffle. Oh man. So, but just watching these resell, or the StockX and GOAT, and those are the two I use the most, but just watching what has happened to prices over the last 3 years has been who's buying these shoes for these prices?
Athletes are
well, you're ruining everything.
For a while, like I said, I did not grow up interested in shoes at all. I was wearing, my dad, not my dad's shoes, but my dad would just get whatever shoes he's getting from Costco and just get another, the smaller size for me.
Right.
It was very much not on my radar, even through college, until I got to the pros, until I got you get a little bit of money in your pocket and you're like, this is actually a cool thing that a lot of the people around me are interested in. And I'm kind of realizing the cool factor of it. So that's kind of what kickstarted my interest in Jordan 1s. And then obviously from there into all the other shoes that you can get. I think I have 3 pairs of Dunks left, and I don't think they're all SBs. I know one of them is the undefeated, the blue and purple undefeated Nike Dunks.
Okay.
I think it didn't end up even being that big of a deal. the one that I actually really like that kind of had a similar experience as you was getting them for like on sale. Like they were just on Nike.com on sale. Were a pair of Nike Dunk SBs. I think they call it the peach corduroy or the dusty peach corduroy ones.
Okay,
that I love those things, and I checked what they're being like. I got them for like $120 or something. They were on sale. And when I checked, I think last year or the year before, they're going for like brand new. They're going for like $400, $500, which is crazy.
It's all pairs now too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember these I wanted these ones, but I didn't.
They sat on at least in size 14. They did. It's size 14 is tough. Yeah. They don't stock a whole lot of numbers of them, but there's not a whole lot of people that have that size.
Yeah, I mean, I buy 11, so I'm in like those.
Oh yeah,
it's like 10.5, 11 when it comes to rarity is like it's the worst. That's everybody's shoe
highest
size.
Prices. Yeah, I am going to ask you to. I'm sure you're aware of the social media trend of blind ranking. Give you a list, and you have to choose 1 through 5 where it goes on your list. And I'm going to give you a couple Nike SBs to blind rank if you're able to.
Yeah, no.
And feel free to search on your an image in case the
just
name
make sure
itself.
I remember them.
Mm-hmm. This is great for this will play great as a reel. Maybe not great for podcast listeners who aren't as into the actual sneakers, but
that's all right. This is fun.
Let's go with the first one being the Nike SB Lobsters.
Which color?
Let's go with purple.
Oh, I have a purple Lobsters.
Oh, you do?
Oh gosh, blind ranking. Purple Lobsters are way up for me, but I'm gonna have. I'll go 2. I really like my purple Lobsters, and I think I can live with that by the end. We'll go 2.
Okay. All right. Yeah, looking at them right now, just without looking at your size or anything, I'm looking at purple Lobsters are at $1,346 on StockX, brand new.
I had to buy mine on StockX, and I think I bought them for like $300, and I was so mad because I was in a line for my skate shop, and then it was we're all out.
Oh.
I'm not accepting defeat on this one, so I went right on and got him, but I was so pissed. I'm like, I just had to pay $150 over stock because I missed out. But I got it at the right time.
Over is now a hell of a deal for what they're worth now. All right, let's go with the next one being the Nike SB Dunk Low Grateful Deads.
Ooh, which ones?
The yellows.
Oh, is the yellow? Wait, the orange is the rare
fuzzy
one.
Yellow. The fuzzy yellow ones.
Okay.
Is the orange the
orange is the rare one. The green's my favorite one.
Okay, let's go with green.
Green? Oh, green would go. Gosh. I guess we'll go 3 on that one. I do not have those. Those are kind of like just a couple of the grail ones that I have not burned all my money to get yet. I haven't done it for that one. Waiting for those prices to come down, but they never will. So I'll go 3.
Okay, so we got 2 being the purple Lobsters, 3 being the green Grateful Deads. Let's go with. I'm looking at a list right now, trying to choose some of my favorites. Here's a good one. Let's go with the Nike SB Dunk Low Tiffany's.
Ooh, now this is going to be a hot take that I am more interested in just the hype of them. Like I think they're fine.
They are a valuable asset to have.
Yeah, and it's like whenever I actually have thought about getting them, I'm like, do I want that shoe or do I want people to see me wearing that shoe?
Yeah.
And it's like it always comes down to I just want people jealous that I have the Tiffany. So they're nice, but they aren't as high for me as they are for just the sneaker world in general.
Sure.
So I'm gonna go. I'll put those. Nah, I'm not going down to 5. I'll put them at 4.
Okay, so we have the top and bottom.
So now we have the best and the worst left.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Here is my personal favorite. If I don't want that to influence your choice at all.
Okay.
But the Nike SB Dunk Lows Ben & Jerry's Chunky Dunky.
Oh man,
these things are awesome.
I tried so hard to get these at the beginning. I don't have a pair of them.
Does that hurt or help your rankings when it's a pair that you have? I think it's got to help.
Oh yeah. It makes it easier to rank them high because I'm like, those are the best because I have them. And those ones that I don't have, those are dumb. I do really like the Chunky Dunkies, but I'm gonna risk. I have to put them at 5. I'm gonna risk it.
All right.
That number 1 is bad. I should not have done that, but that's all right.
And then the last one, the Nike SB Dunk Pigeons.
Oh yeah, I should have put Ben and Jerry number 1.
The Pigeons they're a little bit polarizing. They either love them or hate them. It's another one of those. It's like, do you want people to see that you're wearing them, and then especially recognize the little pigeon embroidery on the back, because that's what makes it special.
Yeah, well, that's fine at number 1. The sneakerheads will love that, but it would not be number 1 for me. I have the pigeon pandas, but I don't have. I don't have an OG pigeon. I think those are
2005. Those things have got to be.
Those are thousands of dollars. Yeah, I'm like, it's a gray shoe. It's got a pigeon on it.
It pretty much
it looks like a pigeon, kind of. I don't know, whatever.
You look at other pairs that are in this top list on thesolesupplier.com or .uk. We got. Let me know if any of these would rank higher for you. We got the holiday special, the Sean Cliver with the glitter outsoles.
I have loaded up on the Christmas shoes. Mm-hmm. So I have all the ugly Christmas sweater ones.
Yeah. What about the Halloween ones? Because some of my favorites are the Halloween dunks. Oh, you're wearing them right now?
I'm wearing. So I got I've got the trick or treat ones. Got these ones. These ones are just regular dunks. These I don't even know what you call them, but it's like. Got the things that glow on them on the side, but I got those, the trick or treats, the mummies. I think they're called cauldrons. Those aren't, the cauldrons are not like crazy good. They're just fun Halloween shoes. I love a themed shoe. So once October hits,
I got the Turdunkins back in 2021.
Oh, did you?
I did the highs. Those were fun, and you could barely wear those ever.
And then I haven't yet broke them out. I need to do it because it's been unseasonably hot here in Arizona, but I also got the
Arizona hot. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's October, man, and we're all sweating to death.
No, I'm with you.
But the candy corn highs, I have to.
Oh yeah,
I got to break those things out for the first time ever.
Heck yeah. We got the Para Dunk Lows. I'm a big fan of those. Those are clean. The Heinekens, the Strange Loves are ones that I'm definitely a fan of with the velvet sides.
Oh man, I bet wrong on that one. I was
really?
Like, I'm gonna watch that. That price is gonna come down. Like it's because
you change materials up.
When the shoe. I have the Paras. I couldn't remember. I have.
Those are sweet.
I have the first one, not the second one.
Okay.
But it was with the Strange Loves when they launch. They get that surge and the price goes up, and then sometimes
levels out a little bit.
Sometimes it levels and ticks down. That one went up and then went whoosh. Yeah. And I was really upset at myself that I could have got them for like $400, and they are not $400 anymore.
Yeah. And then I'll just bring up the Travis Scott Cactus Jacks for the reason of I got lucky in 2019 and got the Travis Scott Jordan 1 Mochas original off of the Nike sneakers app.
Oh my! You got a drop?
The app literally broke as the release happened, and I kept on like, okay, I'm just gonna relog in. It's just like they wouldn't let you check out at the price, and I kept on like logging in, and it was literally for about 30 minutes. It just kept breaking. I'm like, I'm gonna just be persistent about it, and it worked out in my favor.
That is amazing. If I had to take a pair of, I don't have any Scotts, I think the low blue ones. I don't know the name of them, but they're. Those ones or the high brown ones. That's what I would pick. But they're fun, man. I
got to wear those for my first start in the NFL in the tunnel walk. Like I had, you get to make the decision of like, this is my first tunnel walk. I want to go all out with it.
I look good.
So those were my choice. I undead sucked them for that game, and I think I wore them maybe once or twice since then. And it got to the point where I thought that those would just be when they're used when you're only wearing them like maybe once a year. It got to the point where I thought that this is probably better off being sold. And I ended up getting to sell it to a friend, which was good.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, no, I wear the heck out of mine. All my really high value shoes, I just wear them.
Mm-hmm.
So no, they don't sit in my closet for nothing.
Absolutely. I did get to, the only other shoe that I've undead stocked like ceremoniously was my Jordan 1 Chicago's, that it was like the 2015 drop that I wore to propose to my wife, which was neat.
Gotta bust out the good shoes for that.
Exactly. She looking back at it, she's
Did
like,
she notice them at least?
She noticed them, but she's like, oh, I should have noticed that you're wearing these shoes for the first time on this random Sunday. All right, let's do some starter sits.
Okay.
But we're not going to be doing actual fantasy starter sits, and maybe we can come up with some together, because I honestly did not know how. I reached out to Papa Joss on Discord.
Okay.
And to try to find out exactly what you were most nerdy about. I knew sneakers, I knew music, but for the most part, you kind of stay away from talking too nerdy on the fantasy footballers, or at least you don't go too in depth. But he didn't give me much. He didn't give me much to go off of. So I'm going with fairly general, because I know you're into Marvel. I know you're into Game of Thrones. I know you're into a lot of the larger, more stereotypical like nerd franchises.
Right.
But knowing that you're also a D&D player as well, I think I can go a little bit more in depth with the start or sit decision. But let's go with fairly general for now. Let's go with start or sit, DC or Marvel.
Oh, Marvel. That was not even close. Marvel, way over.
When is it just movies, or do you have animated shows or comics to account for?
It what for me was, and this has not. Well, the movies has certainly helped it, but even before Iron Man 1 came out, I was still by far on the Marvel side of, like, I didn't, a lot of little boys or whatever get into, little girls too. That's weird, but they like Superman.
Yeah,
Superman wasn't for me.
He's not interesting.
He's boring. Like I can do everything, and it's like, well, no, actually, he can fly so fast he can travel through time, and like, how can anyone stop Superman? Get out of here. So it was just it was too boring for me. My dad's a big time Batman guy. I don't mind Batman, but it's like, you give me Spider-Man and you give me the X-Men, and that probably goes back to the cartoons of growing up watching those on a Saturday morning when you actually timed it right and you found X-Men. It was going to be a good day. So those two cartoons are what launched me into being a Marvel guy.
Were you really looking forward to X-Men 97?
I still haven't watched it because I was like, I got to go through all the old cartoons.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it with my kids. I think we're like 2 seasons in or something. It's just, but then new shows just keep coming out, and you lose your like, this Friday at this time we're going to watch this show. Well, now a new show is out, so we haven't been able to get through that, and so I have not yet seen 97. I was very excited for the announcement, and there's too many shows, man. There's too many shows. There's too many football games on right now.
It's true.
So I'm gonna get to it. I'm very excited to see it. I've heard the reviews are excellent on 97.
I grew up not incredibly into comics. I didn't, I was much more of a sports nerd growing up, and then in college I kind of discovered comics, discovered then D&D, and I was very much DC ride or die for a long time. I was very excited for Justice League, very excited for all the, I was severely disappointed, but all the comics and stuff, it was always Aquaman was the number one. Aquaman was my number one guy. Kind of a little bit of contrarian as well.
No, that's I liked when I was really young. There was an Aquaman. I think there was a cartoon. Like it might have been around all those, like the old Justice League cartoon. But I remember renting an Aquaman video. I think, I don't know, but all right.
Yeah. The next starter sit in the same vein, I kind of figured that you were more of a Marvel guy. I'm going to go with, and I think I know the answer now. Starter sit, Captain America or Iron Man?
I am Iron Man.
Yeah.
I'm on team Iron Man. I was not always. I would
Civil War.
Well, I'm talking about when I was young. I was video games also huge influence on me, especially arcade games. I don't know if you remember Captain America and the Avengers. It was a 4-player beat 'em up, which was Captain America, Hawkeye, Vision, and Iron Man. But like at that time, I was like, this Captain America, he is the coolest. And then just as I grew up, and Civil War.
Yeah.
I was like, no, man, you got to be on Iron Man's side. What do you tell?
Really?
You tell the Geneva Convention to. I don't know. But I like Iron Man more.
Awesome. I know you're fairly big Star Wars guy from what I've just from the smallest things that I've heard on the podcast.
I do like. I'm not. My knowledge of it is not anywhere close to someone who says that they're into Star Wars. Sure. But I adore the universe of Star Wars.
Well, we're keeping it fairly surface level with this one. We're going to go starter sit Luke or Vader.
Man, I think I gotta go. Man, that's really tough. I'll go Luke here.
Okay.
I'll go Luke.
You gotta go with the good guy.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think through real quick of like how I feel about those guys. And it's the like Luke when he's in the all black in Return of the Jedi, and he's now BA and like he's got we'll go Luke.
Yeah,
we'll go Luke.
Empire Strikes Back Luke is pretty great.
Yeah.
Well, along those same lines, this is just off the top of my head. Let's do start, sit, or drop. Blue, green, or red lightsaber.
Ow. Okay. I'm going to drop the red. I'm going to keep the green. Whatever starts. So I guess we're sitting the blue. But I'd go green, blue, red if I'm ranking those three.
Okay. All right. I got to do the Disneyland create your own saber.
Oh yeah.
I went with red. I had to. But luckily you can change the crystal, the kyber crystal that's within your lightsaber.
Mine is purple.
There you go.
I did the Star Wars Hotel.
You did?
I did.
I've still been meaning to watch that 3-hour-long video that was on YouTube recently. That kind of goes over. Oh, it made headlines. I'll have to send you the link for it because I want to watch it. Please tell me your experience.
It was awesome. We went for so my daughter, she's my oldest. It was her 13th birthday, and it was like we got to do something special, and it was just trying to. And I couldn't really be gone for a long time. My daughter's born in May. In the fantasy footballers world, May is we're building our ultimate draft kit, and like you have a month to do 3 months worth of work. So I can't be gone long, and I went full YOLO because of like if anyone saw the pricing for the hotel, that's why it failed. I will tell you it is only because of that. But it was amazing. It was like a real life D&D going on of. We go you get in your rooms and they're like, okay, we're going to do a big welcome. And it's like the captain of the ship is talking. And there's a guy who's like really dressed up behind me. I'm like, oh, this guy is into it. And he's talking to me. And the more and more I talk to him, I'm like, I think that this guy is actually like, this is a plant. Yeah. This is someone this is a character.
Were they acting as if they were like going to be a guest for the hotel?
No, they were acting like they were
they're in the world.
They were in the world of Star Wars. And I'm like, this guy's really good. And then I just kept talking to him, and somehow we ended up like he was a musician. And that's what it was. So he's a low-time musician, and part of the story of the ship is there's a big-time singer who's going to be performing for everybody.
Jizz singer.
And then so he's playing the guitar, and I'm like, hey, mind if I do that? He's like, oh. So then I just caught on. I played the song he did, but just super immersive. But the coolest part, which is one of this is like a way up there of moments of my life, is you have, your iPhone is giving you information, and you're like getting messages, and it's like from this guy I have not seen, and he says, essentially talking like being part of the resistance. If you see me, say this, like a full on, like how the weather in Spain.
Choose your own adventure. Oh, cool.
The weather in Spain today is very hot. And then we're eating, and then he comes walking in, and I'm like, I'm doing it, man. So I gave him the code phrase, and he's like, shakes my hand. He comes in, he's like, meet me where, like, the second floor utility closet at 8:50 p.m. where a bunch of like-minded people or we're gonna get together there or whatever. But it was just everyone dreams of doing that spy thing, meeting a person you don't know, and you just say a phrase. So it was,
and then you're in.
It was a great time. Way too expensive, but it was a great time.
Did the meetup live up to expectations?
Oh yeah, it was cool. And then it is very choose your own adventure. Like, you can go Empire if you want, or I don't remember which one they're talking about. It went for them, but it was wild, man. I was really, really bummed that it failed, because as soon as we got home, it was when they changed the story. Like, if they do a new story, we're going back.
Wow.
But
yeah. Well, let's do the last starter sit, and I kind of just want to get your vibe on your D&D, like, proclivities, your favorite kind of character to play.
Okay.
Start or sit, combat or role play?
Oh, role play.
Start.
Yeah, role play is the start. My first character was a bard, and I have done a few others since then, but I just keep going back. The bard is just like, when you don't. I mean, the insult part is really, really funny too. Throwing vicious mockery all the time, but just. I like the combat. It's very fun, but, like, trying to think outside of the box of the combat of what what the DM will allow you to do is that's far more fun to me than the actual I do my two-handed attack or whatever.
Yeah. I love that. I was going to ask starter sit, melee, or caster build, but it sounds like you're a caster.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I prefer it.
Love it. I love it. Well, I think that's just going to about do it for us. I was going to ask, I would love to find out what your updated jock to nerd ratio might be, but you're already pretty heavy on the nerd side. And I feel like if anything, this conversation would push you further that direction.
Yeah. It might be 75 now. I don't know.
There you go. I love that. I want to thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this episode and being part of the Athletics Check show. This is very, very cool for me to be able to be, as being such a big fan of yours, and for all of the favors that you've done for me of answering a few questions on Twitter DMs of do I go with Kareem Hunt or do I go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire? A couple other ones over the course of the last couple of years, but thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate the invite, man. It's a good time.
Yeah. For anybody who is listening, I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer with Mike to run a little Dungeons and Dragons adventure if you're up for it. It's just a short little micro adventure, going to go about 15 minutes or so.
That sounds great.
But if you want to listen to that, go check out the Patreon, the Athletics Check Patreon subscription. And there are two things that I'd like you to do. I don't know if you have a set of dice. Well, first off, I want to ask if there's anything you'd like to plug. I mean, we've been talking about fantasy footballers a whole lot. If we go listen to fantasy footballers if you don't already listen to it, because it's if you need any help with your fantasy football team, or you just want to listen to three guys joke around the whole time 5 days a week, it's that or Spitballers.
Yeah, but thefantasyfootballers.com. You can find everything there. That's our hub. And then the other just personal thing I'll push is me and my son do a Twitch stream, usually about once a week. But it's just, it's father and son. We're playing like NCAA, playing Fortnite, and just and talking fantasy football usually. But
I gotta Twitch, join on that stream sometime.
Just FF Hitman, twitch.tv/FF Hitman. I think that's
there. You go. And I imagine you probably tweet out when your guys are going live.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there's two roles that I'd like you to make to finish things off. The first one is as you're actually the 10th guest that I've had on this show, and as being the honored member of guests, I would like for you to have your jersey raised to the rafters of the Athletics Check Stadium. Unfortunately, you don't have a jersey yourself, but what we can do is roll a D100 to see what number that would be.
Oh,
so let's see what number is going to be risen to the rafters for.
All right, you want me to make that roll?
Football hip. Yeah.
All right, I'm doing it. We're rolling. 62.
62. That's a great offensive lineman number. Hell yeah. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget it.
The infamous 62. Very well known in the world of numbers.
That's a good guard number right there. Hell yeah. And the last thing is, Mike, I would love for you to lead us out with an athletics check roll. So if you could do me kindly, what would be your bonus to this roll? Are you proficient? What's your strength score? Or if you want to do acrobatics, maybe.
Yeah, we could do acrobatics if based off of my level of athletics and acrobatics, I'd put myself at about a -2.
Oh gosh, I think it's the first negative modifier we've had on the show.
I'm trying to be realistic, man.
That's fair. That's fair. I get it. All right, let's see what your athletics check roll is.
All right, and stop. Well, I rolled a 3.
Uh-oh. Let's give you advantage. You had help.
Okay, I'll take. Okay, thank goodness. Okay, I rolled a 16. So
there you go. Is that -2 to 14, or is that -2 to okay
14 with the -2?
With a 14, I think that's absolutely going to cross the. It wasn't a super high DC. That's absolutely going to get you there.
It's probably higher than 1.
It's probably higher than 1. Mike, thank you so much for being on the show. If you are a Patreon subscriber, go check out the mini adventure that we're going to run with Mike on Patreon. But again, thank you so much for doing this with me. And for those of you at home, roll me an athletics check. And that's it. That was our show. Thank you so much for everybody who was so patient about our extended hiatus. There was a lot of things going on in our life, and I'm so glad that you stuck around, especially to our patrons, those of you who are generous enough to want to keep this show going through your own support. If you go to patreon.com/athletics-check-pod, you can join the incredible supporters like Eric Johnson, Danielle Siuba, Ladarius Smith, Will, Jamie Bellin, John Guillaume, Camilla, and Andy Chang. All of those people are the incredible people who make this show continue to run and support people like our editor, Frank Janish, our producers, Sandeep Parikh and Anand Shah, and our lovely co-host, Travis Reeves, as well as myself. Thank you to everybody who watched, and I cannot wait to see you at the next episode. And do me a favor, roll me an athletics check.